Last night, I witnessed a major breakdown of public order, which left one man seriously injured, Royal Protection officers reportedly seconds away from drawing their weapons, and the police facing big questions. With the debris still evident tonight, yards from Parliament, what went wrong? 2 p.m. was the moment police began to lose control. A small group of protesters tried to break away from the agreed route, and the police drew batons to contain them. The national leadership of NUS refused to support the march and were not on hand to lead it. The march organisers negotiated this route with the police, taking the march past the corner of Parliament to a final rally by the River Thames. The organisers did go there, but the majority on the demo did not. They broke into the square, which was sealed at 2 exits. Watch yourself. The fences would soon become weapons, and by now, the only line of defence for Parliament was the last line, the Territorial Support Group, the Met's elite full-time riot squad. Suddenly, the rear of the crowd tried to escape the square westwards past Westminster Abbey. You can see, as we moved through it, the crowd was not aggressive, but towards the front, finding itself blocked, those determined to fight soon appeared. It was here that the crowd violence and the police response escalated. Snooker balls, fireworks and flashbangs were thrown. Mounted police were drawn back and then put in a series of charges. In between, they pulled people from the crowd.
Get back in there. Get back in there.
And pushed them back in. It's clear not everyone was there for the violence.
They've got to make sure they go back in. Don't just take them out. They've got to go back in.
This level of violence prompted the police to kettle the entire demo, and it was here, later, that 20-year-old student Alfie Meadows sustained injuries that needed emergency brain surgery earlier today. Round the corner from these scenes, if you look carefully at this footage shot at 4:45 by our team, you can see there's a line of 5 casualties being treated, each one a protester, each one has a head injury. It's prompted student leaders to call for a rethink of policing tactics.
I think the Metropolitan Police need to be held to account for their policing tactics. They need to answer publicly about the tactics they use. They need to be clear about the tactics they use. And frankly, the public have lost trust in the police. The public do not want to see 14-year-olds charged by horses, kept in for hours and hours and hours in the freezing cold, for the police to stay silent over very serious incidents for months and months and months until official inquiries are over.
Another key development which has complicated policing in all the student demos is the presence of large numbers of school students, including gangs of youths from London, who injected a whole new dynamic of unpredictability. It was perhaps these people the Prime Minister was referring to today.
People see scenes of flags being torn off the cenotaph, people despoiling the statue of Winston Churchill, of police officers being dragged off police horses and beaten, a crowd behaving sometimes in an absolutely feral way. I think people see that as completely unacceptable, violent, thuggish behaviour, and they want the law and the courts to take the necessary action, and I very much hope that they will.
Though they dispute that, the campaigners do see last night as symbolic of something bigger.
It really does bring home to you what's changed here. Something big has changed in the last month. I mean, the Chief of Police came out and said the game has changed, but I think the whole parliamentary game has changed. The relationship between state and citizens is breaking down entirely, particularly amongst my generation. And I think people need to not underestimate that by saying, oh, violent kids, because actually something much bigger is going on here.
As night fell, somebody in law enforcement decided it was safe to put the heir to the throne into a 1977 burgundy Rolls-Royce and drive into streets where there were already reports of looting.
Off with their heads! Off with their heads!
The Met's commissioner praised the restraint of armed protection officers. Newspapers reported tonight they had come within seconds of drawing their weapons. The student demos have posed 3 new problems for the policing of protest. One is leaderless marches, where negotiation is difficult. Another is the presence of groups of youth who seem to have very little to lose. And finally, there are the policing tactics which seem, to those on the receiving end, to punish the many for the actions of a few. The old tactics, from kettling to horse charges to photographic intelligence, did not keep order. In the new world, symbolised by this image of Cambridge undergraduate Charlie Gilmore, police chiefs are said to be working furiously to come up with something new.
Well, we asked to speak to the Metropolitan Police, but we were told no one was available tonight. But I am joined by the